Well, in other news now, the Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar, who is on a 3-day visit to China, sent a strong message to the Chinese side saying both sides should ensure that differences do not become disputes. This morning, he met the Chinese counterpart Wang Yi and called on the Vice President as well. His visit comes in the backdrop of China expressing strong reservations on India's move to abrogate special status for Jammu and Kashmir. Jaishankar had a restricted meeting with the Foreign Minister Wang Yi, followed with a delegation-level meeting as well and press statements by both sides later in the afternoon. While S. Jaishankar spoke about strengthening people-to-people ties and cultural relations, the Chinese foreign minister said the two sides had decided to deepen bilateral engagements, increase cooperation on trade, economy and defense ties. China also emphasized that it would address India's concerns on trade imbalances. Listen in.
Can also be gauged from the fact that we have just now concluded 4 MOUs agreements, which include 1, promoting cultural exchanges for the preservation of intangible cultural heritage, organization of cultural activities, and management of archaeological heritage sites. 2, enhance cooperation in the field of traditional medicine, where both countries have a rich knowledge accumulated over centuries, with the objective of promoting the development of traditional medicine in the healthcare systems of the two countries. 3, promote exchanges between our national sports association, sports persons, and youth for strengthening cooperation on international sports events. And 4, cooperation in museum management for promoting collaboration between the Hubei Provincial Museum, Wuhan, and the National Museum, New Delhi, in the field of exhibitions, protection and restoration of collections, and archaeological excavations for museums.
The strategic economic dialogue, financial dialogue, and other important institutionalized dialogues are very important. We need to strengthen our cooperation mechanisms, including more defense exchanges, so that we can build more practical results. We're of the view that we need to further deepen our practical economic and trade cooperation. China appreciates India's concerns over trade imbalances, and we stand ready to continue to provide facilities to Indian exports to China.
Well, earlier in the day, the Indian Foreign Minister invoked the consensus reached in Astana 2 years ago to say that India and China relations should be a factor of stability at the time when the world is facing an uncertain situation. Jaishankar's meeting is expected to prepare ground for a second Wuhan-like summit between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping, likely to be held in October in India. The Indian Foreign Minister's visit is also the first ministerial-level talks with China after the Modi government began its second term, taking place in the aftermath of India's decision to revoke special status to Jammu and Kashmir and its division into 2 union territories. While Jaishankar made no statement at the press briefing on differences, the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi brought up the matter in the press briefing, saying that China had announced its stated position on the matter.
Well, there are some differences between our two countries. We don't shy away from those differences. We exchanged views on those matters in a candid manner. Regarding the recent tensions between India and Pakistan, we made clear China's concerns. On the issues that involving China's sovereignty and rights and interest, we also stated China's principled position.
All right, and Siddhant Zibal is now joining us live for the latest on the Foreign Minister's 3-day visit to China. And of course, some important statements there being made, Siddhant, by both sides, emphasizing a reason to deepen economic and trade ties, but also talking about how differences should not turn into disputes.
Well, a very important meeting of India's External Affairs Minister in Beijing. Of course, the day is over in Beijing, but the focus clearly on making sure that differences do not become disputes. And the entire meeting, it's a pre-scheduled meeting, but the meeting coming in the backdrop of Indian decision to remove the special status for the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir. And clearly, the Indian External Affairs Minister said that both sides should be sensitive about their core concern. But interestingly, the Foreign Minister of China said that he expects expects early harvest when it comes to the boundary question, something that can be a big positive for India-China relationship. This coming even as both the sides are preparing for the second informal summit, in which we do expect a lot of announcements. In the last announcement, today's meeting is part of that announcement itself, because today was the high-level meeting between both the ministers on cultural exchanges and people-to-people ties, something that both sides would like to increase, so that there can be positive contribution in both the sides, in a sense relationship side, because there isn't much exchanges happening. But another important thing to be noticed is the fact that the Chinese foreign minister brought up the issue of unilateralism, something that China is facing from the American side. So clearly it shows that Chinese need the Indian right now, and by and large his statement was there was a lot of positive, but there were negative in a sense that he brought up the recent developments from the Indian subcontinent.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us with the latest there on that press briefing by the two sides, where important issues were discussed and brought to the fore.